Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome today. We're going to be going over a few things about Arizona's language development approach and how it can be applied in the classroom. There's a lot of really great information that we're going to go over today in regards to the rights and the different things that our English language learners have in regards to learning in the classroom and having everything accessible to them that they should need. The first thing that we will discuss is just the basic definition of what an English language learner is in the state of Arizona. Arizona defines an English learner as a child who does not speak English or whose native language is not English. This student is also not currently able to perform ordinary classroom work in English. So they do require support beyond just what you would normally provide your students who could just speak English only or is primary English speakers. So they do require more support in regards to learning the content beyond just the basic English instruction. In the state of Arizona, the pre-K to 12 English language population as of the year 2022 to 2023 had 103,318 students, which would account for 9.2% of the enrolled students in K through 12. The most common languages spoken by English language learners are Spanish, Arabic, Swahili, Navajo, and Vietnamese. These primary languages have changed over the years, but Spanish and Navajo are two that have shown up frequently over the different years that they have done the surveys. And 32.2% of English language learners are not proficient after 5 years. So this is something that the Board of Education in Arizona has been working on actually improving, because the goal of these programs is to see that these children are proficient in English much sooner than that 5 years. So to see that it is not proficient, most children are not proficient after that 5 years, they're working on finding out what those areas are that they are lacking in. Now we'll move on to Structured English Immersion, or SEI. You will often see it reflected as. ELLs, or English language learners, are taught subject matter in English by a content licensed teacher who is also licensed in ESL or bilingual education. This differs from sheltered English instruction because sheltered English instruction is also taught in English by a content licensed teacher. However, the English language used is adjusted to the proficiency level of the students in the class for sheltered English instruction. This being said, that sheltered English instruction might make the instruction easier to comprehend for some students whose levels or proficiency levels are not as high. So they will use more bilingual instruction than English instruction to navigate it for the students who are currently in the class. For SEI, or our Structured English Immersion, the teacher is proficient in the student's first language. Students can use their native language to ask for clarification, but teachers will typically respond in English. This is in an effort for the students to get used to, one, hearing English responses more frequently, and two, feeling more comfortable themselves in speaking English or responding in English. Next, we have Arizona's language development approach. So, based in Arizona's language development approach is based in the understanding that our English language learners are all a valuable member of the educational community. We do not gauge students based on how much English they know. We understand that each student comes with very individual and unique aspects, especially our students who come from different countries or different backgrounds. They can bring so much to the table in regards to different variations on how we can look at things, how we can approach things, and how we can look to teach as well. So every individual at every level of the educational system has a very unique role to ensure that every English language student succeeds and achieves their academic goals. So this does not just rely on the shoulders of our teachers, but it relies on our administrators, our district professionals, our paraprofessionals, so every level of the educational system. So there are 4 principles that the state of Arizona recognizes. The first is the asset-based behaviors and expectations, being that our English language learners bring a very rich and linguistic resources and cultural knowledge. They come from places that are not the same as what you see here every day. They come with experiences that some of our students have probably never thought of. So we take everything that they bring with them and include that in all of our systems and our programs that we put them in. Principle number 2 is the integrated instruction in disciplinary language and content. This principle, our educators should design instruction that integrates both the language and literacy development along with content learning for our ELL students. We want to make sure that both the instruction we give them and the content is applicable to what would be best for them. This happens by following content standards when planning our instruction while also utilizing the English language proficiency standards to support differentiation. Principle number 3 is targeted and explicit language instruction. There should be clear language instruction. This happens during discourse practices and should be rigorous and grade level appropriate. So in the same way that literacy and language are integrated into content instruction, we should be doing the same thing when it comes to our language instruction practices. So we should integrate those things fluidly throughout our lessons. Principle number 4 is assessment, monitoring, and feedback. Districts, schools will utilize English language proficiency standards, diagnostic tools, formative assessments, and summative assessments to measure the progress of our English language learners. So our students will come in and take initially an assessment to see where they are, what support they need, and along the way we will use things like just basic observation in the classrooms. We will use our formative assessments and summative assessments to measure how far along our students are, where they might need additional support, and where they're really thriving. And up next, we have student agency within the instruction of our English language learners. Student agency is when a student takes the lead in their learning and the teacher acts as the facilitator. So we get to flip roles in a sense. So part of what that does is it gives our students self-determination. So our English language learners become more driven to accomplish a goal because they're going to set that goal. We'll sit down with them and we'll decide with them what their goal is, not only just for their English learning, but as well as their content learning. What is their ultimate goal within the class? This will also give them a sense of voice. So being that our students will get to decide on an approach or a particular topic or how we can add to that topic, they're going to feel very supported in their learning. We're going to use things that would be culturally applicable to them. So something that they feel like brings them back to where they came from, or something that they see at home. We can integrate that into our lessons as well. And this will also give our students confidence. When they're leading something or they're the one giving the ideas, they have much more knowledge in what they're bringing to the table, and overall gives them a lot more confidence in what they're doing in the class. It gives them more determination to work through what they're doing in class, and they feel supported. They know that, hey, my teacher understands me, my teacher wants to know who I am, and they want to see me succeed. So utilizing student agency with our English language learners can go a really long way. And now we're on to our SEI models. So there are 4 different SEI models. The first model is a newcomer. So a newcomer, we would break up the day based on 3 different things. Initially, targeted instruction. So targeted instruction would be instruction with English language learners only. With a newcomer model, this would be 120 minutes a day for our younger students and 100 minutes a day for our older students. Then they would go into integrated instruction, which would be instructional grouping with both English language learners and non-English language learners. We would target this to 120 minutes for our younger students and 100 minutes for our older students, and the remainder of the academic day would be taught solely in English. Our pull-out model, we would look at a little different timing. So our targeted instruction would go down to 60 minutes a day for our younger students and 50 for our older students. Our integrated instruction would be 60 minutes a day and 50 minutes for our older students. And then the remainder of the day is going to be taught in English. So the pull-out method is going to be more of, we see them go into a different classroom and get very specific targeted instruction in the areas that they need support in. And then our 2-hour model is pretty similar to the newcomer, but after the targeted instruction, then it really goes into English instruction for the remainder of the day. And our 50-50 dual language immersion. So this model does have to have parental signature saying that they do give authorization for this model to be utilized. Our targeted instruction is only going to be 30 minutes a day for our younger students and 25 minutes a day for our older students. Integrated instruction is 90 minutes a day for the younger students and 75 minutes a day for our older students, and then the remainder of their academic day is taught solely in English. So this model here doesn't have as many hours in our targeted instruction and integrated instruction as the other 3 models, but it does really emphasize those students receiving English instruction. And any teacher that is responsible for our targeted instruction or the integrated instruction must have the state SEI endorsement, ESL, BLE endorsement, or have completed the SEI coursework. And now we have our English language program eligibility determination in Arizona. So I have provided you with the map in regards to what it takes for a student to be determined eligible for English language services in the state of Arizona. To sum it up, we start with identification. So when a student enrolls to a school, they will be provided a home language survey. Based on that home language survey, then the student would be determined as to whether they need assessment or not. Within 30 days of the start of the school year or 2 weeks from the date of enrollment, if a student or the family has selected a primary home language other than English, then we would move on to the AZELLA or AZELLA assessment test at that point. Based on the assessment, then it would be determined where their initial placement for services would be. Our parents then at that point as well, after assessment, will receive notification of how the student did on the services and what the schools or the school district's placement request would be. So where we feel like they would do best. Then there are some documentations that the parent would need to fill out. And from there, then if the parents agree to services, then the child will receive the required services within the classroom and the other supports necessary. After a specified amount of time or annually, outside of just our formative assessments and what we see our student doing within the classroom, our students will also be reassessed annually. So we'll see where they are. Are they making growth? Is there areas that we need to change? And all of this happens within the school confines. Now we have our standard accommodations available during that testing. So when the student does go to take their AZELA test, they are granted these accommodations if necessary. So they can get small group, one-on-one, or separate location testing based on the student's needs. Flexible seating is also available, so if a student feels more comfortable in the back of the room or if they feel comfortable seated away from other students, we can accommodate those needs. If a familiar test administrator is necessary, so if the student feels like they need somebody in the room that they recognize, as long as they are certified, they are within the English language learner requirements, then that person may be in the room. Students can ask for the use of a device to better see the test. So if they need a magnifying glass because the fine print is too small, or if they need something to help them read through the lines, there are available things for them. Also, they may request the use of devices to better hear the test. So if they need something to amplify the test administrator's voice when reading directions, they can request so. They can also request the use of wearing noise buffers. So if they need something to block out the sounds around them, that is also available if necessary. They can ask for repetition of directions. So as the test administrator is going through the directions, they can ask for repetition as well as clarification on those scripted directions. And read aloud of scripted directions for constructed response or extended writing questions is also available to our students. And we also have our parent and guardian rights. So our parents of our English language students are granted many rights, but just a few of them are translations. So in the event that our parents do not speak English clearly or would like the assistance of a translator, anytime they contact the school, they can request that. So they can request a translator from the school, or if they have somebody that they would like to interpret for them available, they can also do that as well. In regards to immigration status, schools are not allowed to ask our parents questions about their immigration status. That is not something that should be happening at the school level. Our parents also have the rights of refusal for program placement. So if parents decide that they want to opt their child out of a school's English language program or any specific services within the English language program, they have the right to do so. And in regards to assessments, our parents must be notified within 1 month after school begins if their child has been recommended for placement in an English language program. So parents are told why their children has been identified for the program, the child's English proficiency level, their recommendations for the child, what they can expect from the program, and an anticipated date that their child will be ready to leave the program. That sums up what we have in regards to Arizona and the rights and the processes that they have in place for our English language learners. Thank you so much for your time today, and I hope you have a wonderful day.